Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Khalipa. This is just a short format podcast where I dive into something I'm thinking about for this upcoming week. And of course, we're drinking a little bit of coffee. Now, Coffee with Khalipas used to be a huge part of the podcast years ago. We got away from them for a little bit, and now we're bringing them back for the month of February. And in particular, with the month of February, we're talking about kind of lessons that I've learned, moments in my life that have stuck out. So last week, if you missed it, we released an episode about some lessons that I learned and some major milestones in my life that happened within the hospital. This week, it's going to be a little bit more business focused. And so I'll just lay the kind of framework for it and then share with you like a really big takeaway in my life that happened over 20 years ago. And I still think about it on a daily basis. So I started off in the traditional gym when I was 15. I would work at the front desk. I would, sell people Gatorades and give them like little keys for their lockers. It was great. It was a great job on the weekends. It gave me some flexibility. I'd work there and then go, I don't know, party at night, whatever it was. And this was when I was in high school. But as I was going through high school and getting ready for the next step, I didn't really apply myself as well as I wanted. And the football opportunities I thought I had didn't happen. And I ended up going to a junior college coming out of high school when all of my friends went to a 4-year college. And I felt like, really at the time, I felt like I was not on the right path. I felt like, man, I'm not reaching my potential. And so I shifted from working at the front desk at this gym to working in sales. And looking back on it all these years later, it was such an incredible experience as a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid learning how to communicate with adults from all different backgrounds, all different financial situations. It really laid the framework for learning how to talk to people and hopefully get them to commit to fitness and change their lives through the gym. That was the original goal. Of course, I really believed in what we were doing. Turns out I think that as I got older, I realized that people needed more direction and guidance, and that's where CrossFit came in. And I ended up opening our first CrossFit gym at 21 when I graduated from college. But the moral that I want to get into, the story I want to get into is about Joe Gigantino. So at the time I'm selling gym memberships, I'm doing pretty well. And I know that I want to one day own a gym. It's like pulling at me. It's like, man, I want to own a gym one day. I want to do what I love for a living. I want to be able to impact people. That's what I want to do. And so I go up to Joe one day. He's the owner of the gym, super great guy. He still comes every week to our men's club workouts. And I go up to him and I'll never forget what he said to me. And this just left such a lasting impression on me. Here I am 20 plus years later, and I still think about this probably on a weekly basis. Is I walk up to him knowing that I want to own a gym one day. And I say, hey, Joe, I want to own a gym one day. Like, what advice do you have for me? I really want to own a gym. What advice do you have for me? And he takes a pause. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he just looks at me and he's like, Jason, if you want to be an owner, start acting like an owner today. And he walked off. And I sat with that. Here I am, sitting at my sales desk for the rest of the day. If you want to be an owner, act like an owner. If you want to be an owner, act like an owner. I kept saying it to myself, as if by me telling myself that it was somehow going to I don't know, whatever. So I'm sitting on it. I'm sitting on it. I didn't really get it. So the next day comes around and I'm at the gym again and I end up in the locker room. And if you guys have ever been in a conventional gym locker room, there's always some guy, drying up. There's always a lot going on in the conventional gym locker room. But anyways, there was some paper towel on the floor and the janitor was still there. There's other people that do the role of cleaning the gym. But I'm in the restroom, washing my hands. And Joe happens to be in the restroom doing something else. And I watch him walk by. There's a piece of paper towel, just a few of them, just laying out in the lockers. And he walks over there and he went and picked them up, threw them away, didn't say anything, walked back upstairs. And I remember thinking to myself, that wasn't his role. He wasn't in charge of facilities or janitorial, but he was the owner. And it left an impression on me because I went and talked to him about it later. I said, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by if you want to be an owner, act like an owner? What he shared with me is that if you have goals and aspirations of doing something different, right? If you want to own your company one day, if you want to be the president of your organization, if you want to be the top salesperson, whatever it is, you can't just flip a switch. And I was trying to share this with my son the other day. You can't just flip a switch and say, oh, now that somebody gave me the title, now I'm going to start acting that way. If you want to be an owner, start acting an owner. From that day forward, I started thinking about each decision I made in terms of if I saw paper towel on the floor, would the owner pick it up? Hell yeah, the owner would pick it up. If, someone was in a poor customer service, example, and it wasn't my fault, would I still try and support? Of course, because that's what the owner would do. And every day I started acting as if I owned the business within the realm of what I could. And the reason why that was so beneficial for me is that when I went to go and start my own company just a year or two later, it wasn't like I had to change my mindset. My mindset was already there. Now I just had the actual title, and now I just had to go execute on that. But I think oftentimes in life, and this was, again, the biggest takeaway for me, is like we're waiting for somebody to anoint us. We're waiting for someone to say, okay, now you're the owner, to start acting that way. But why can't you start acting in the way that you want to act as if you had the position already? And I'm not saying you should be like overbearing and take over people's roles and things like that. The point I'm trying to make is that, if you want to be a manager someday and you're acting like an employee who doesn't show up on time, you're doing different things, well, you're never going to become a manager because you're not showcasing what it takes to be that. But if you could showcase what it takes to be that person, you'll get recognized and eventually you will be that. And if you don't get it within that organization, you'll become so valuable that you could probably do it somewhere else. And that was a really valuable lesson for me at a very young age. I was more business focused, and I wanted to share it for this week. Last week, if you missed it, was a little bit more, or not a little bit, a lot more personal, a lot more it shifted my mindset. This particular situation shifted the way I approach business, the way I approach, the way I approach business. Was that just because somebody gives you a title, it doesn't mean that you're just all of a sudden you have the skill set. You should start developing that today so you're ready when you do get the title. And man, if you want to be an owner, start acting like an owner. Woo. All right. Well, that's this week's Coffee with Khalipa. I hope you guys are in the gym pumping it up. I hope you're, with your family on a road trip doing something cool. I don't know what you got going on, but I'll tell you what we have going on over here at Train Hard. So on February 23rd, I am so excited for this. For a while, we kind of pivoted some of the programming on our Train Hard app to be in cycles. And I think it served itself well. And we still have cycles there of Train Hard Daily, of Flex. But starting February 23rd, we're going back to some old school way. The way that I've been training for many, many years, which is just daily programming that you could do with me. So it's the exact workout I'm going to do with my son in the garage. We're going to have a barbell version and we're going to have a dumbbell version. And the beautiful part is it's not on cycles. It's just going to be new workouts every day. Every 2 weeks are going to be uploaded. We're going to have a monthly focus. And it's just, you guys are going to get to train with me and we're all going to be doing the same workouts. The cycles were great. But the problem was people would be on different times in different cycles. So I never felt like I could message back and forth people about how they felt that day. So we're getting back and I'm encouraging all of us. February 23rd, the new Train Hard Daily shows up on the app. There's going to be a barbell version and dumbbell version. It's perfectly timed to finish off from the shoulder to shoulder campaign that we're doing. And then we're going to roll right into that. And the expectation for me is that I will be in the garage with my son every day doing those workouts along with 2 to 3 days a week of jiu-jitsu. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So, all right. Well, that's all I got for today. Stay tuned for more updates in regards to the app. Make sure to check out the podcast show notes to join one of our weekly free men's clubs. Of course, we have our free virtual Train Hard men's clubs that happen every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Dude, if you're looking for a little juice, just get fired up, a weekly anchor, make sure to check that out. And as per usual, I hope you, your family are doing well. Have a kick-ass rest of your day. Have a kick-ass rest of your week. And see you guys next week.